Hey YouTube, this is Cayem Interviews. I am your host, Tim Cayem, and today I want to walk you all through 10 bands that I think need to reunite. Now, these genres kind of mix between indie rock, post-hardcore, metalcore, etc., but I really think that all of these bands would benefit from reuniting, especially for this whole, I guess you could call it Warped Tour scene. I guess that's the best way to say that it's all-encompassing. So let's just jump right into this list, guys. I want to start with number one on my list, a band that just recently dipped out of this scene called Casey. Casey is a post-hardcore or maybe even melodic hardcore band that kind of had their own genre. I felt like they were a strong fit for the progression of the genre. They were kind of like Under Oath on steroids in terms of their melody and how, like, I don't know, impactful their choruses could get. I thought this band had fun drums, a good mix. They were really artistic with their music videos. In general, I just absolutely love this band, and they just weren't around for all that long. It's a bummer this band didn't make their way to America more than, I think one time, and it's a shame that I never got to see them live. It's not even that I didn't get into them early enough or anything. I feel like I was on the cusp of when anyone heard of Casey, but the problem was that they just didn't come here. They weren't from here. So when they did come here, I think they played Chicago and one other place, and I'm on the West Coast. I didn't really get to experience that. Anyways, if you haven't heard Casey and you like bands like Under Oath or Being as an Ocean, I definitely think you should check out Casey. I'll link them here and you guys can go check them out. Number two for a band that needs to definitely reunite is Woe Is Me. This band had an all-star lineup with Tyler Carter, Michael Bond, and the Ferris Brothers. I think that it was honestly a band that we all loved when they first came out. Despite all the member changes and issues starting and people disbanding, I really thought that Woe Is Me did a great job at making an album after that era took place. So I would love to even see that era kind of reunite and do their own thing because, as much as it wasn't the most tasteful form of music and it probably wouldn't do very well in this day and age, I really just think it would be a cool nostalgia piece. And, as we grow older, these artists also grow older and, end up making great music. After Woe Is Me. So yes, would it be so cool to see a reunion of Numbers with Michael and Tyler and Austin Thornton? Yes, of course. That's the number one goal, but is it realistic? I'm not sure. I just think it would be really cool to see those guys get back together and create something special for, fans that love the Numbers album. Number three on my list is a band called It Dies Today. It Dies Today was the staple of metalcore back in the early 2000s. I think they did a great job at kind of transitioning the genre from post-hardcore to metalcore. And I really loved what they brought to the table, and they really paved the way for other bands that are in the scene now in the melodic hardcore genre like Counterparts. And although we did get a tease for a comeback, it's been so long since we've actually gotten to see them perform live, and I think that would be really cool to get an actual full reunion with a full album from them as well. I'm just holding out, crossing my fingers that maybe one day they'll be bored enough, maybe during a quarantine, and they'll create something special for fans that miss their music so dearly. Number four is a band called Let Live, and again, another band that kind of dipped out pretty recently. It still stings a little bit. There's so much to say about Let Live, but one thing that I will say is that they were so genuinely themselves and so very different from all the rest of the bands in this scene. While most bands were going more towards metalcore or melodic hardcore, you had Let Live really going more towards the punk route in both message and music. And although Jason Butler has his new project, The Fever 333, there still is definitely a void here of what Let Live brought to the table in terms of sound. So I don't know if you really miss Let Live like myself. I guess The Fever 333 will have to do for now, but I definitely hope for a Let Live reunion. Some sort of tenure that we can come up with, or maybe just a reunion show in general. It would be really cool to see that happen once again. Number five on my list, we're going a little more towards alternative or whatever you want to call it with a band called Broadway. I'm a huge Seosin fan, so obviously I was very stoked on Broadway when I first heard them. This band proved a lot right out the gate with their album Kingdoms. I mean, it had features of Craig Owens, Johnny Craig, etc. People that you'd want to hear if you're into that kind of music. And it sucked. This band was so good, and even the release after that was really good. But, I mean, it just didn't stick around. Jack was in there from Sleeping with Sirens. He left the band. Also, Jake Garland, who's obviously now known for Memphis May Fire, was in the band. And I really feel like Broadway was a stronger fit for all of those guys, just in that it was more unique music that I enjoyed. Obviously for their careers, you got to get that money, so I get it. But I preferred Broadway over both Memphis May Fire and Sleeping with Sirens. So I think it was a lot better fit in my opinion. What really stung about this kind of disappearance of Broadway was that Misha Camacho was a very talented vocalist and kind of went nowhere after the band disbanded from him. And as I'm sure he's not upset about it or anything, they did one little reunion show recently. I think it was like maybe a year and a half ago or something. I didn't get to go to it because I believe it was in Florida, where the band is from. But I really, really wanted to see that happen. And I really would love to see Misha specifically make more music, as he's a very talented vocalist. Number 6 for me is a band called From First to Last. Think you've heard of them. Previous vocalist was Sonny Moore, and I guess now technically current vocalist. Spencer from Periphery created an album with the band, specifically like Matt Good, as he's a very prominent, songwriting figure in the band. And it was good. It just wasn't what I wanted from a From First to Last reunion. I really, really, really wanted Sonny Moore to get back in the trenches with this band and kind of create something, even if it were just an EP. And we got that with Make War, and I thought it was really good. And, they even played a performance at Emo Night. It didn't get to go, but it would have been really cool to see. And I guess see a bigger body of work from the band with Sonny, as he's so talented and has grown so much. Even Matt Good now being a prominent producer in the studio. And I really think that positive things could come from that band in terms of Sonny being, very well respected in the dubstep electro community, and then Matt Good also being very respected in the metalcore, post-hardcore or whatever influence or sphere. I would argue that reunion isn't completely there, but fingers are crossed for a full-blown reunion, so that's my take. Number 7 for me is Attack Attack, and as I'm sure most of you know, Caleb Shomo fronted that band for quite some time, and alongside with Johnny Frank, who has a great project right now called Bill Murray. I definitely suggest you guys check out Bill Murray, and of course, people know Caleb for Beartooth more recently. And this is, again, just another example of two very strong songwriters that kind of did their own thing and are creating great music in two different avenues. But I would love to see what they could create with Attack Attack, just because they were so forward thinking in Attack Attack before, electro could even be considered part of metalcore. And they did well with it, and they grew as a band. So I think it'd be really, really cool to see Attack Attack come back. I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts? Do you think they'd be stronger? What kind of genre do you even think they'd be in at this point? Number 8 for me is a band called From Autumn to Ashes. So From Autumn to Ashes had kind of a teaser reunion recently, and their vocalist had to end up going to rehab, so that was unfortunately postponed. But this is another reunion that I am super stoked on whenever it does happen, because From Autumn to Ashes was a great post-hardcore outfit, and they were so influential because, they were even before It Dies Today. These were, again, early 2000s bands. If you haven't checked out From Autumn to Ashes, I definitely suggest you go check out some of their body of work. Number 9 for me is a indie rock outfit called Balancing Composure. And again, this is another one of those, reunions that it still stings a little bit because they just disbanded. And I just got into Balancing Composure right before they broke up. And I got to see them once, and it was really, really cool. Their fan base is great. Their music is great. Their live performance is great. So, I would just love to see more from them in the future. They're very often compared to Title Fight and Brand New. But for me personally, I actually found them to be more tasteful than both. I'll probably get shot by indie rock fans, but I think that's honestly a great, to me, middle ground. And I think that they found a good spot in between indie rock and the more exaggerated form from Title Fight. Now, John Simmons is in his own project right now called Creeks, and, that is something for people that are fans of Balco, but, for me, I would love to see, kind of a more collective work from that original band, but this will have to do for Balancing Composure fans of the for the foreseeable future. And number 10 for me is just kind of a fun metalcore staple, the band For Today. This is probably maybe not so fresh, but relatively fresh of departure, and it was really sad to see their kind of finale, because their last show was probably the best show I've ever seen from For Today. The lighting was sick, the sound was sick, and of course they have an amazing discography. So there was just so many great hits of metalcore that you kind of need to like step back and realize, oh my gosh, this band, like they slayed it. They did so well throughout their careers, and it was really sad to see them disband. I think that For Today did a great job at catering to exactly what metalcore was for their time and place. And, you know, it would be kind of weird to see, actual reunion and then progressing forward from that. So maybe this reunion looks a little bit different as like maybe just one more tour in the future. But I really think that I would love to see more and more music from For Today because they're just a solid metalcore band. Some honorable mentions I have for you guys are Drop Dead Gorgeous, Chiodos, and Sea Haven. Obviously, fans of those bands will kind of understand why those are honorable mentions. And, you know, I don't need to go into the details of those three, but, you know, they're all three great bands. I just like the 10 that I listed a little bit better. So let me know, guys, are there any bands that I missed that you kind of wish would come back? Bands that are in the back of your brain and you're like, gosh, please come back. Like you're just kind of like waiting for a perfect opportunity to tweet the band or Instagram a member from that band and let them know like 10-year for this is coming up. Like maybe you guys should do something. I know I was that way with Seosin before they reunited. So, I mean, I'm sure there are people out there that are super passionate about one of their favorite bands getting back together. So let me know in the comments below. What are some bands that you guys want to see reunite? Who did I miss? Let me know. And connect with me in social media. All that. Links in the description below. And as always, guys, this is Cayem Interviews. Peace out.